Boom. We're on.
Hello.
From one flow state to the next. I know you were just writing a Twitter post like 5 seconds ago.
Yes. How are you doing, brother?
Incredible. I'm very busy in life right now, but there was a moment today when I was literally running and juking and dancing from football workout straight to my car, singing music, straight back to home. I had a coaching call, then I ate a great dinner, and now I'm here and I had this feeling of like, I love my life. I love my life. I'm so grateful. This is so beautiful. So it's not always like that. Like there are, of course, the mind gets in the way, but that happened today and that was fun.
Beautiful, brother. Yeah, well, you're in a deep state of flow. It's interesting. I really feel like if you can access that state of flow and live your life from that place, life gets infinitely sweeter than if we're playing in the standard sort of, this is me, and these are all the reasons why, or the self-created reasons why I'm going to cling to this familiar misery, and I'm just not going to allow myself to live a beautiful life because of X, Y, Z arbitrary reason. But it sounds like I know that you've done the inner work, and now you're at a place where, like, I don't need any of that. I'm going to live a fucking beautiful, joyous, flowing, harmonious life. Because why not?
Most definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and something we used to talk about was like every moment can be flow.
Yes.
Like when you're living in alignment, open-hearted, every moment is a flow state. You know, I'm not like going to be pulling tarot cards on this podcast, but like I just looked to the right for some reason, and this card just flashed, and it says "Power of Joy." Look at that! I love that. I had to share it. That was not intentional, of course, but it feels like that's a beautiful way to start this, just with joy and harmony and ease and flow. So, tell me about how you're feeling today.
How am I feeling today? Well, I have just woken up. It's 9:31 here. I basically woke up, hugged my daughter, went out and got a bit of sun and made a green tea. I was up really late last night because I was having a powerful conversation with my wife, who, by the way, made me laugh so much the other day because I said to her, darling, are we doing anything on Friday? She said, no. I said, great. I'm going to be doing the Jack Moses podcast. And she went, Jack bloody Moses? Him again? Doesn't he have his own husband? In her in sort of like sarcastic humor kind of way. Completely joking. But yeah, we've had some weird experiences in the past where men have come into our life and they've sort of tried to whisk me away from her. So she's got this sort of weird sort of feeling about it, but it is what it is. Story for another day. But yeah, how am I feeling right now? I'm feeling a state of reverence, I would say. Feeling a state of reverence, feeling a state of openness, peace. And just really, I don't know. I don't know anything. That's how I feel. Like, one thing I've been really playing with is letting go of all fixed views. And for anybody who's interested in finding peace, we have to recognize that the fixed views that we hold on to when we freeze reality and frame, and the most common one that we do is, well, I am me. And I know what life is, and I know what this is, and I know what that is. And we have all these preconceived notions that we bring into the ever-fresh present moment, and we freeze it. And that is inherently constraining and restrictive. And that creates a lot of tension, and it creates a lot of suffering, actually. And it's all based off of this sort of arrogance/ignorance that we really know. Do we? I don't have a fucking clue what's going on here. And there's been something like 150 million scientific studies done, 170 million books written, 90 billion humans who have lived on the planet since we started being a human, whatever that specific definition is. I don't think anybody really knows. Like, we've got lots of good guesses, but it seems to me that the truth is revealed most succinctly when we're in deep stillness and silence and non-conceptual beingness. And anything other than that feels like a bit of a guess. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. How about you, brother? How are you feeling?
Well, now I'm curious to go down that rabbit hole is what I'm feeling. That not knowingness that you arrive at in the depths of a meditation or in the depths of a psychedelic journey, whatever it is. How do you grapple with that sometimes? Like, does the mind sometimes lead you down the rabbit hole of thought to existentialism? What's the point? Like, this is so, what the fuck is going on? Like, is this a video game? How do you deal with that? How do you come back to joy if and when those mental programs, those thoughts arise?
Yeah, it's a great question, because well, I think naturally, as you let go of fixed views, what you'll find is it actually takes a tremendous amount of energy to sustain those fixed views. And I was thinking about this the other day. Generally the degree of effort that we feel is the degree to which the ego is involved in whatever we're doing. And when it feels effortless, that there's relatively little ego involved. And when it's transcendent, there's no ego involved. And that's what transcendence is, right? It's to go beyond. And a lot of the effort and strain that we feel in life it's not life. It's us trying really hard to hold on to the familiar patterns that have kept us miserable. And it's the effort that we feel is in our attempt to hold up the structures of our own suffering instead of just letting it go. So life is not effortful. Life is easy. The bird doesn't think about how to fly. The grass doesn't think about how to grow. And the waves certainly don't think about how to come in and out. It's all effortless. All of the effortfulness and sort of tension that we feel is we're trying so hard to keep up the walls of our self-created prison. We're straining to hold them up. So that's completely irrelevant to the question you asked. But
and I think it's partially relevant, because what you touched on is usually where my answer leads to. It's like the existentialism, or like the what's the point end of the rabbit hole of thought, is usually the answer I come to is it's just the bird flying, like with no explanation. That's it. But the mind wants to make a story out of it and like make it mean we're getting somewhere, but there's nowhere to go. And so sometimes that rabbit hole of thinking can like quite drive me crazy. The more you sit in it.
Yeah, well, I think if you stay with that original thought, it's just the bird flying. I think that's so close to the essence of it. There's a wonderful manga called Vagabond, and it details the life of Miyamoto Musashi. It's a deeply, deeply spiritual text. It's got incredible wisdom in it. And Musashi meets this monk called Takuan. Takuan is this incredibly wise, seemingly enlightened Zen monk. And there's a scene in Takuan's life where he's grappling with a very similar question, where it's like, well, is there free will? Is there fate? What's going on? And he concludes something like, the heavens have already decided our fate. And paradoxically, we are completely free to choose what we would like to do.
Yeah. It's that felt it goes good. It's beyond our mind. It feels good. That's why I laugh, because the laugh bubbles up like, yeah, it's true. And our minds, even like having a podcast, right? It's like we're having an intellectual discussion to reach a truth that cannot be said. Like the paradox that you just said, like all the greatest truths are these deep paradoxes that our mind can't comprehend. So then it's like, okay, understanding that all that there is presence. Can we just make peace with our mind and peace with our thoughts and live a harmonious, joyful, daily existence? Because that also is like, okay, it's written in the heavens, right? It's written in the stars. I feel that our highest timelines, God, the universe, the guides, they also want us to live vibrant, happy lives. I hope. Maybe that's a hollow, shallow belief, but it's one I'm choosing to have, I guess.
Well, I think it's self-evident, because we've got this wonderful, the body is a mechanism, it's a vessel, and it has this wonderful thing called what I call a bioenergetic feedback mechanism. And when you are in these negative thought loops, and when you are in deep self-obsession, because that's what anxiety and depression are, they are self-obsession. It's all self-referential. And actually, on a more sort of grounded level, you are in the default mode network, which is this neural network associated with anxiety, rumination, and self-referential thought. And if you hang out there for too many years, you get dementia and Alzheimer's, And going back to the fixed views things, it's like when you look at somebody who's got dementia or Alzheimer's, their eyes are literally like solid, right? And it's a tragic thing, I'm not like looking down on them at all, but it's just an interesting thing where it literally, there's a hardness to their brain. The more that we hold on, right? And the more that we can let go of this illusion of knowledge, this prison of knowledge, the more that we can be free flowing with life. And so going back to the bioenergetic feedback mechanism, it's like when we are in alignment with love and joy and peace and unity and connection, we feel fucking amazing. We feel high energy, we feel incredible. And that's just that feedback mechanism saying, yeah, great, you're in alignment with truth. And when we are in the throes of overthinking and misery, it's just showing that you're not in alignment. So it's actually an impersonal thing. To feel anxiety is an impersonal thing. It's just a signal. It's like an alarm going off. And it says, oh, yeah, okay, you've got some letting go to do. You've got some feeling to do. You've got some coming back to truth to do. What does truth look like? Well, that's for you to decide. Get still, get silent, reconnect with your authentic self and figure that one out. Yeah. So,
the root of it is always so deep, right? And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. So this is much more bringing it back to like worldly, normal daily life stuff. I had a friend text me today. He's like, yo, like, is there a quick fix to anxiety? Or like, how do you go about getting rid of anxiety? And I'm like, well, a quick fix to it, in theory, it's like anxiety disappears in an instant, right? So it is a quick fix. But it's like, are you looking for something to do or take that will give you like the realization that anxiety is an illusion, which usually will take from a lot of hours of sitting with yourself?
Yes.
So, I mean, how would you answer somebody who texted you that? And I'm sure a lot of people listening to this deal with anxiety. We're human beings. It comes up for me. Like today, I was like, fuck, what am I going to do about this? Like it comes up. It's part of it. So how would you advise somebody, and how do you deal with it yourself if it comes up for you and when it comes up for you?
Okay, so I'll start with the text part. And I think, look, we're human beings. And first of all feelings and emotions are sacred. So whatever comes up, be it anger, be it anxiety, be it guilt or shame, if we come at it with this point of view of how do I get rid of this? Well, that's resistance. And what you resist persists, solidifies, becomes denser. Your attention contracts down around it and it feels real. It takes up more of your mental real estate and it's impossible really to move forward. So first of all, you need to befriend whatever's arising and learn to accept it as being sacred. It's not something to get rid of. It's a pointer, a finger pointing at the moon. And in this case, the moon is something that you're holding on to, a fixed view that is causing you to suffer. And with anxiety, the way that I go about it with my guys, because a lot of my guys have really bad stress and anxiety, even though, they've got it all. Even some of them who have got like no responsibilities, they've already made it. They still have lots of this low level, sort of subtle anxiety just buzzing away in the background that saps joy from their life. And it's the fact of the matter is, if you want to stop fixating on the future, you have to let go of the past. The reason why you're preoccupied so anxiously with the future is because you're still running off of redundant, fear-based programs from the past. And I say redundant not to look down on them, just because, again, that's sacred, but it's more so they're redundant because they make you feel shit, which really just shows that they're not in alignment with truth, going back to that bioenergetic feedback mechanism. Now, I was having this conversation with my wife last night because she said to me, she was like, I feel like you've been fighting me all day today. And I was like, okay, that's really interesting because I feel like I've been really cooperative all day. And I've been like doing my best to go about the day doing things that you wanted to do. And she said, no, you've been fighting me all day. I was like, okay, we need to have a talk about this. Let's sit down. And, basically the conclusion was, after about an hour and a half of talking, she's highly resistant to any sort of this. She's not in this realm. She has her natural grace and that's fine. But the conclusion was she wasn't fighting me. What she was fighting was the past version of me, the young man who she met at 22 years old, who was a bit of a resistant twat a lot of the time. And what she was doing was she was bringing up the past into the present moment, seeing through all these filters and lenses and unable to meet the present as it is. So a predetermined sort of self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens when we hold on to the past, is we project it out into the present, and that drives us into the future. We can't see what's here. And we sort of came to the conclusion that this is a pretty sort of arrogant position to take, because she was like, I already know what you're thinking, or I already know what you're going to do. I'm like, do you really? Well, please go and buy a lottery ticket for me. If you know everything that's going to transpire, go and buy that lottery ticket, and great. And that sort of just helped her to sort of loosen that up a little bit and say, oh yeah, okay, actually, hang on. Maybe I don't know. I said, if you think you know, you never allow for a new outcome, because you're already energetically closed off to it. So it was a really, really good chat. We ended up having a nice big hug and really good resolutions and powerful steps moving forward. But that's a perfect example of how, when we are bringing the past into the present, which, by the way, manifests as tension, this contractedness, right? This contractedness activates the program of being you, and all of those past programs that you then bring into the present. And now you're not seeing life as it is. You're unable to see clearly. You are seeing through the lens of lack and fear, pain and suffering. So if you want to get rid of your anxiety, let go of the past.
That's going to be my next question. But before that, I want to reflect. A few things were coming up for me during your speaking there. Like, one is that I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for this moment. Like, it sounds trivial. It's kind of like, why are you saying this in the middle of the podcast? I feel so grateful that I get to sit here on like a Thursday night and just chat with you. And like, it's just so beautiful to go deep. And I'm really grateful for this, bro. I'm really grateful for you being here.
Likewise, brother. Do you know what? I'm incredibly grateful. I can feel tears coming up now, but I was sat in the sauna the other day and I was thinking, man, it'd be great if Jack Moses was here. Like, I was perfectly happy without Jack Moses being there, but that was a really beautiful time. And I've been very blessed that I've had a couple of other guys since you came. I've had a couple of dudes from New Zealand who came over and we did much the same thing. And yeah, it was really beautiful, man. So very, very sacred times. I treasure those because, ultimately we don't really know when all of this comes to a conclusion, and I feel like we rush around and we assume, especially when we're young, that this is endless, but it's not. Those moments, this moment, so sacred and so profoundly beautiful. And yeah, like I cry a lot these days, because I'm just sort of like, wow, this is very special, this moment. And all moments are, I was speaking to Danny about this yesterday. I made him a book cover. Just took 5 minutes in Canva. Did you see it?
No, I didn't see yours, but I saw the tweet. I was like, maybe I'll do that too.
Yeah. Mate, it was really fun. But I sent him a message and I said, look, I'm just curious because I know you're collecting perspectives for this book about divine moments. Here's my perspective. There are no divine moments. There is just the divine moment, this continual divinity unfolding in the present moment. But it feels like moments when we are not fully present to it because we're caught up in some sort of fixed view, or we're caught up in some way that life should be, etc. And I thought, it might be an interesting perspective for the book or for him, and I'm sure he's probably already included it. But you can have a psychedelic trip just by staying open to this moment and being relaxed and open to it. And whenever you try to contract back down into the familiar known misery, just opening it back up again and just staying here. That feels like a drug trip.
Most definitely. And that was the second point I was going to make, was you see reality and feel it and understand it so deeply. It's like, well, I didn't see it this way until I had done ayahuasca and then beyond that. But like, just through the sheer power of meditation, like you you get it at a fundamental level. And it's like so deep to grapple with sometimes, right? Because you can see things so clearly. So yeah, I just wanted to reflect. I admire how you can hold that.
Thank you,
Because
brother.
you've gone so deep into yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And it's, I've got a fucking brilliant book up here called Seeing That Frees. You'd probably really enjoy it. Superb book by a guy called Rob Burbea. The irony is, I didn't think I had any meditation teachers where I lived in little tiny Devon, which is like some rural ass, hick ass, like, back into nowhere kind of place down in England. I mean, hey, I love that. I'm like a redneck, basically. We called them, we call ourselves Jhanas, but it's the same kind of thing. Yeah. And I didn't realize he actually teaches. He taught right near where I lived. And unfortunately, he died before I realized that. He died from cancer, I believe. But that book is just so brilliant, deconstructing reality and deconstructing all these fixed views that we hold on to. I haven't read it for a good while, actually, but I'm going to revisit it because I've been kind of in this place in my own practice. And, one thing I realized is, okay, would you agree, Jack, that we spend, well, what would you say is the thing which keeps people stuck a lot of the time?
Let me sit with that. Stuck as in like stuck in a bad cycle, an addiction.
Yeah, stuck in addiction, stuck in loops of negative thinking, just generally stuck in life, yeah.
Failing to see and failing to believe and have faith that there can be something different. Like choosing to close off reality as this is just the type of person I am. I am just the type of person who can't put away the chips. I'm just an anxious person. That statement is what perpetuates it from my point of view.
Yeah, that is beautifully stated. Yeah, I think, so not having hope and then the attachment to one's identity as this limited, being. Right. And I think along with that, there's a lot of the times where we're running away from feelings and emotions, right? And that's generally, that's the whole premise of like the Sedona method and also Hawkins' letting go technique. And it's a lot of what I do as well with guys. It's like face your feelings. You're not, the things which are keeping you stuck are your feelings and your inability to accept them. That's what, if you look at the process on the map of consciousness, the process of acceptance 350 is transcendence. And it's the transcendence of one's ego. And the only way that you can do that is in the full, gracious, humble acceptance of whatever emotions arise. But if we break down what emotions are into their constituent parts, they're just sensations. So this is a question for anybody listening. It's like who perhaps feels a little bit stuck or feels like they're not as in control of their life as they would like to be. It's like you are letting your whole life be dictated by sensations. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, the three flavors of sensations. If you break down the like anger, for example, is just made up of these different sort of bundles of sensations. Maybe these sensations are hot, maybe these are kind of moving really quickly, and then there's another bit, and we call that anger. But when you break it down into its constituent parts, it's just this kind of like fizzing, buzzing, tingling sensations that are arising and passing away rapidly. Now, what most people do is they pull away from that because it's uncomfortable into maybe biting their nails or picking up their phone or into thinking or into porn or weed or whatever. But the real trick of life is to learn to lean into those sensations, and it all happens at the level of sensations. Don't worry about the thoughts. They'll calm down naturally when you've harmonized the sensations by allowing them. 99% of thoughts are just trying to figure out what's going on at the level of sensations or emotions at a higher level. So lean into the sensations and truly allow them to soften into them. It's a softening. Almost as if you were getting into like a cold tub, right? Just gently lowering yourself in and just letting it wash over you. letting whatever you're feeling wash over you completely. And you do that for even 10 seconds, and you're going to find the sensations start to fall away, and the unpleasant become neutral, and they might even become pleasurable. I think this is a real key skill to learn, how to make unpleasant sensations pleasurable, or at the very least neutral. If you can do that, you pretty much can do whatever you want in life.
That's so interesting. So let's keep on the thread of the anxiety.
Yeah.
The way to the shortcut, or the way to actually transcend the anxiety, is to allow yourself to feel the anxiety fully and know that you are not the anxiety. Okay, cool. So I'm going to use myself as a personal example. I'm careful with language here, right? In the past and in the present, anxiety comes up. In the past, I used to identify as I'm just anxious.
Yeah.
Now it's like, okay, there's sometimes anxiety present. Okay. Something that happened to me about 2 months ago was I essentially had like a panic attack type moment, like super anxious. And I've had one before, like last year. But this time was different, about a year removed. I laid with myself on the floor in the anxiety, watching it happen. And I was like, this is okay. This is completely okay that this is happening. And I felt that for sometimes the apathy or depression that sometimes will feel like it arises. Okay, can I be with it for a bit and watch it? What I'm curious about is, okay, first of all, for somebody out there who hasn't done that, that sounds scary, right? Can I just be with my anxiety for 2 hours straight? Yes, you can, because you realize that you are not that which is the anxiety. You are that which is aware, and you reside in that space of infinite love and infinite consciousness, knowing that it will pass. When it passes, where do we go from there? So I lay on the ground for 2 hours. I have this anxiety episode, let's call it, right? Going forward, will it naturally subside? Like, because I allowed myself to feel it fully, will it naturally subside? Or is that a sign to tweak things in my lifestyle so it will subside? Maybe it's both. I don't know. I'm really curious to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to honor your courage for sitting down and being with it for 2 hours or however long it was, because that takes tremendous bollocks. It really does. It really does. And that makes you a warrior. A lot of the times people think, nah, I'm a warrior, I'm a man, I'm just going to go and I'm going to push through this. No, you're a coward.
That's one of the most true things ever. That's got to be clipped.
I say that with love. I say that with all the love in the world. You are a coward. It's not more effort. It's not more doing. It's not more achievements. It's not more validation. Feel your fucking feelings if you ever want to go beyond. And if you keep running away, they will keep running your life. So anyway, to your question, I think, just want to honor your bravery there and your courage. And this is why I always say that presence is the state reserved for the courageous, because you have to feel it all, and only in the feeling does it go. So I think it's you hit the nail on the head. Yes, it will disappear in doing that, or rather it will reintegrate, let's say, because it's all energy, right? And energy doesn't disappear or vanish, it just kind of changes form. So it will reintegrate into a more harmonious form as you feel it. And not the irony, but the strange thing about energy is that the more harmonious it is, sort of the more of your innate potential you unlock in terms of your energetic boundlessness. But I think as well, it does. If you're having a panic attack, I'd be like, right. For me, I'd be like, right, okay, there's something seriously out of alignment here. I need to sit down and really just take a solid inventory of my life. And I know you're a super busy dude, so I'd be like, where am I out of alignment with my core values and with my overarching guiding principle? Now, for me and for many seekers or spiritual practitioners, it's like the overarching guiding principle is love and God, right? When I'm confused about how to proceed as a father, because my wife's going mental, my baby go mental, it's all quite overwhelming potentially, I always go back to this highest guiding principle, which is unconditional love. And that removes all doubt. It removes all second guessing. So I'm curious for you, Jack, what is your highest overarching guiding principle in your life?
Yeah, I love this. And we're getting to topics that are especially relevant for me right now. I'm at an interesting, I've been at a crossroads, it feels like, for the last 9 months. Like each day is very fresh. There's lots of iteration, which is good. But to answer your question, maybe I can give more context too.
Sure.
Okay, I'll give you more context. And this ties into, I was writing down what's my number one core value. And it's freedom. And that's making me think about my current situation. So here's my current situation. It'll be so interesting to look back on this, like when everything works out magically as it's supposed to. Right? I'm seeing it almost as like a game, right? It's like there are so many different paths to go. What's going to be the most fulfilling? Where am I going to grow the most? What's practical and makes the most sense? That is, I feel a little bit of tension saying that, right? What's practical and makes the most sense? But there's a part of me that like, yeah, like let's start to become a little bit responsible and mature and practical. And maybe that's my dad's voice in my head, but then it's like, oh, his voice actually has some wisdom, right? Sure. So it's multifaceted, but here's my situation. I have one ghostwriting client. I make $3K a month. I have visions for so many creative projects. I have creative energy bursting out of me so long as I have the time. With conscious creators, transcendence, a handful of mini courses. I'm like, I think I would love to create these. YouTube, I want to start ripping. Podcasts, I'm back into the flow, right? I love it. And this freedom gives me so much creative energy. And the businesses are becoming more and more and more aligned with devotion and unconditional love and service, which is, boom, beautiful. Now, the question mark is, or the other variables in play are school takes up time. Okay, it's cool. I learn a lot about myself and the world by being there. And I'm getting really good with AI, which is huge. Football, that's a passion. I love that. So that's cool. So we're already at like limited time, right? Because ghostwriting, school, football, and then creating my own projects. I'm running Transcendence cohort. I'm making a curriculum. I'm doing one-on-one coaching calls. I want to build conscious creators. I'm building a free course for it. Oh, a new book emerged, right? So it's like I have this crazy creative energy. And I think my highest expression, most free expression, is somebody that creates a lot. So the current situation, to come back to it, is what I've been wanting to have. This came through in the shower before we hopped on the call. It felt it in my body so strongly. Is there, my highest self spirit wants to like create, express, like literally full on, like imagine like a flower blooming, right? Can I do that with my feet firmly planted on the ground? And what allows my feet to be firmly planted on the ground? So there's a new opportunity of, oh, I might be able to work as like a marketing strategist at this company. Oh, maybe I could get a few more ghostwriting clients. Okay, maybe I should just do this. So there's uncertainty around the money piece. And I wrote down this question for everybody. So this is, because I think this is applicable to a lot of people. It's like, okay, I have to make this money. My expenses, let's call them, if I want to be investing in all the best food and supplements and all of it, let's say my expenses are 5, 6K a month. I have to make this money. Okay, that kind of causes tension, that statement, right? I have to make money. But the way that I believe is the most stable way to make money feels a little bit out of alignment and causes tension. So do I do it as like a stepping stone to absolute freedom? Or is there just like this quantum leap where I'm like, all right, I'm completely surrendered to God, and maybe surrendering to God is taking the steps. but yeah, that's my situation. I guess to summarize the question or the statement that I'd love to hear your thoughts on is the statement of I have to make this money, but the way I make money feels out of alignment. Like what do you say to a person like that who has to make money to survive in the world?
Well, first of all, you're eating damn good. 5 to 6K on food. Fuck me. Yeah. I don't know what you're eating every night, but like
that's such a great answer.
I mean,
No,
talk about practical work on the floor, grounded. I mean, it's like, what do you? I don't know. Maybe I'd break down my expenses first thing and be like, why am I spending 6K on filet mignon or whatever every night? Can I do it in a slightly less luxurious way? I don't know. I mean, that's probably one thing to look at. But it's a great question, Jack, and
that's fair. That's very fair. That is a very fair point. I like it.
Yeah, but let's start with the most basic. I mean, something that came up to me there is like just imagining myself when I was in university and then imagining you as the sort of golden light in the classroom. This dude is already making 3K a month. This dude has already got all these creative projects and who's playing football, who's doing all this stuff. I mean, what an incredible situation you're in right now. It's busy as hell by the sounds of it, but wow. I mean,
it's a blessing. It's such a blessing. And I'm grateful I'm learning to do this dance.
Yes.
That's it. It's all a dance. And the more I dance around my apartment and dance throughout all of the chaos of life, it's all perfect. If I can remember that it's a dance. I'm feeling so much energetic clearing right now throughout my system too. It's fascinating.
Very good. Yeah, I think in this situation, and this just reminds me a little bit of when I was doing an international move with a pregnant wife while supporting 15 plus clients, building out a business. That's really hectic. You basically have to go like, I don't want to call it psycho mode, but you have to be so absolutely surrendered. And I call this mental efficiency, where there's zero self-created suffering before, during, or after a task, or at least the minimum amount possible. So there's no rumination after you do something. There's no anxious preoccupation before you do something, and there's no resistance while you're in it. And if you are able, and that takes a lot of humility to be able to do that, but if you're able to kind of be super mentally efficient, there's no reason why you can't handle all of this and dance that dance so beautifully. So that would be an increase of sacrifice, because you're sacrificing all of the things that perhaps you cling to for familiarity, we all do, right?
Yes. The death of the boy inside, in some ways.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you necessarily want the boy to fully die, or at least you don't want the child to die. Maybe the boy.
Yeah, that's a great distinction, right? The inner child is my fullest, happiest, most joyful, playful expression, but the boyish habits, let's say the sleeping in, and it's pretty, like, I'll give myself a lot. Like, I feel pretty good. I'm pretty aligned. Almost every single moment of my day is like, it's pretty dialed. Yeah. There's a few little things of like, hitting snooze. That's the boy. Can we clean that up? But yeah, I'd love to go back to that like hypothetical situation that happens to kind of be my situation, right? And probably many people out there listening to this, right? Because everybody, like, people, if you're listening to this podcast still, and it's 808 right now, how about that? Angel number. That's an angel number for me. You saw my email, it came from Jack Moses 808. But anyway, so this is divine timing. Anybody out there listening to this podcast is interested in spirituality, is interested in freedom. One of the biggest stepping stones to that freedom seems to be like, I would just want to do this all day. I want to do my creative passion pursuit all day, but I have to make money to live in the world. So yeah, I'm curious your perspective on that.
Yeah, it's really tough. And I've got like, I'd say 2 or 3 guys who grapple with this right now. And you know, these are really, really freaking successful dudes. I won't say where they work because, you know, but, you know, dudes who they're doing essentially what 9 to 5s, or they've got their own businesses, but they're doing, you know, close to 7 or above 7 figures. So it's like they've really found what they're very skilled at doing to make a lot of money. Right. And obviously with that, there comes ego attachment because and sort of validation and this sense of like, but they really grapple with this a similar thing that you're putting out here now and that you're dealing with. And I'll be honest, I don't really know. I feel like stepping stone. If you're doing it for a limited time of your life, then yeah, it's a stepping stone. It kind of is what it is for now. I can make money doing this, but at the same time, I feel like that there are ultimately, when we're present, there are infinite possibilities. You know, to get a bit quantum, when we're in pure presence and we're not bound by any views of how life is, there's really infinite possibility here. And the way I like to think about it is that there are all these realities which are already present, like almost like slides, just sort of floating in the quantum.
Yes.
And we can, if we want a particular reality, we can bring that to us. And there's no reason why you couldn't be doing something which feels more aligned, which opens up more space and time, and still be making the same, if not more money, 10 times the money. Like those realities are present, but it requires us to know what it is that we want. It's a really tricky one. It really is. I feel like there's infinite possibility. You can really go and do whatever you would like to do, with the caveat being that there might be some time where there's a transition phase as you wait for that kind of reality to manifest, as it were. But I think ultimately, whatever questions we have, we kind of already know the answer, and it's always revealed in stillness. It just requires getting still and allowing the answer to come to us a lot of the time. So I'm curious,
I love it.
if you feel into what feels authentic for you regarding your situation. Okay, you've identified that there's a few little bits where your actions are not quite in alignment with your values, like where you hit snooze. That will chip away at your self-esteem if you let it, if you let the pattern continue. But what feels authentically aligned? What feels like the highest expression of Jack Moses regarding your situation? Let's say you're looking back at this from your deathbed. You've got a couple of hours to live. Beep. 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 And you're looking back at your life and you think, man, I'm so glad that I chose to follow my heart in this situation. I'm so glad that I chose to trust myself and to trust God. What would that situation look like? And just take as long as you need to reflect about.
What comes through, it's like a double-sided response. It's like in the mind, I'm like, I would go create all my own things, and I would fully express, and I would fully do it, and I wouldn't hold back. At the same time that I say that, there's a hunger response in my stomach. Right? And this is what I've been feeling. When it's time to think about, okay, how are you going to make money? I get a hunger response in my stomach. So the answer is probably the middle way between those two. Right? It's like, yeah, fully express yourself and create. But also feed yourself. Right?
Does ghostwriting light you up? Does it give you joy?
No.
Okay. Do you believe that you can make 3K a month doing something that does give you joy, that could replace ghostwriting, which, from the little I know of it, is a very time-consuming process? Do you believe you can make 3K and replace that income?
Yes, new bodily response. My hand becomes sweaty.
the unknown.
Right? And this, for me, this subconscious pattern is when I'm going to make a pass in football, that it's like, ooh, can I make that pass? Sweaty hand.
When you're playing football, you get the same response, you mean?
Right. And that's where it's from. Because I see business as a game. So it's just playing a game. So it's like, okay, all right, my highest self in this football moment or in this video game. Video game's easier because you're not detached. It's like I would throw this 40-yard pass down the field because that is the play. That's it. That's the one that wins the game. But then the fear response is my hand is sweaty. So there's a 40-yard pass I think I could make right now. That, and I would have to get clear on how does it actually feel super aligned. But there's an opportunity that's like a 40, maybe a 50-yard pass. That's probably the way.
And if you were on your deathbed and you look back at this and you were like, you had these two visions of you like looking at the pass and going to throw it, and then you sort of pull back and you say, nah, let's take the safe route. Or you went, fuck yeah, bang! Which one would feel more aligned?
Yeah, of course. And now you got my mind turning a little bit of like, okay, how do we make this pass? I'll be able to sit with that in solitude. We don't have to take the whole podcast for this, but it's probably interesting for people to like witness an inner exploration like this. My whole body is like super lit up right now, by the way. Like, this is maybe TMI, but like my sacral is like so fucking turned on right now. It's not turned on in a sexual way, but it turned on in a expressive way. Like fuck yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yours isn't in a sexual. Okay, shit. Yeah. Well, that's it. That's it. Like the creative energies are flowing and buzzing, and they want to be released. They want to go up higher, up into the heart, up into the third eye, up into the throat. They want to be expressed.
My whole body is like fucking electrified.
Yes, bioenergetic vibrancy. Yeah, me too. Like I can feel the waves of like. I'm not gonna lie, my nipples might be erect right now. You know, that's like we're conducting energy right now. You know, this podcast took a turn for the.
This is the craziest thing. I love it though because it feels so authentic. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we're not holding back here, but I think that electricity, that's your truth, brother. That's like I always say to my guys, when you feel that bioenergetic vibrancy, follow that through, see where that goes.
The feeling is the key.
Yes. And when you are confronted by fear, and what does fear do? Well, I mean, imagine a deer in the headlights, it like freezes, right? When you feel that fear and it stops you, you don't move through fear by pulling away from it into your phone. You move through it by going through it, softening through it. Do you know those like foam roller things you have like when you're a kid in the play parks and you kind of squeeze through them?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that. Squeeze through it, go out the other side, keep going. Don't let it stop you. So yeah, I'd be super curious to see where that goes for you, brother, and like what that looks like, what that 40, 50-yard pass looks like.
You've got me excited. You've got me excited. I think I'll keep it inside, like what it is for now.
Yes.
So I don't preemptively say something. But yeah, okay, I think I want to pivot this slightly.
Sure.
So I only wrote down two things that I really wanted to talk to you about, like because I knew we would just flow. But I had two things that I was really curious your perspective on. So the first one I want to talk about is, and this is going to get deep again, is dark night of the soul. What does it mean? Let's just start there. What does it mean?
Dark night of the soul.
It sounds so scary.
Yeah. I think it can mean different things at different stages. I think when one is setting out on their path and they're starting to cultivate inner awareness and they're starting to really come into knowledge of themselves, it's this meeting of the shadow, this part of us which, you know, until we really embrace our own darkness, and we all have we have infinite capacity, but people don't really think about the flip side of that. We could be Stalin, we could be Hitler, we could be Mussolini, we could commit the most foul of actions. We have that potentiality within us. And there's parts of our ego, which is a multifaceted entity, that is quite willing to do that. And perhaps would even take great satisfaction in it. And I think sometimes when we meet that, we sort of pull away from it. We're like, holy fuck, that's inside of me. I want to like murder my mum or something because of the way she's, shamed me throughout my life, or whatever it may be. These really dark aspects of our being. And I think that can be a dark night when we pull away from that instead of embracing it and actually integrating it. The way that we integrate the shadow and avoid like a catastrophic dark night is by being able just to hold space for all parts of ourselves. Because I remember I used to, every single night, just for context, when I was about 14, I felt really sort of rejected by society. I was completely spaced out at school. I've never engaged. Like I was predicted to get all A's and A stars and stuff, and I just never fulfilled my potential. I was so wrapped up in like surviving, basically. And my coping mechanism was a game called World of Warcraft. I loved it. I mean, I'm a big fantasy nerd anyway. I was reading like Tolkien, Lord of the Rings at 5. Love Harry Potter. I know that's big for you as well. And just love fantasy novels and books. And I found this online fantasy game where I could find my people. And I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. But my mum, we had so many arguments about this. Point being is that I had this huge resentment towards her. Because it's like she rejected, I finally found something that felt safe and felt welcoming and felt authentic and aligned and like love. And like she rejected it outright. And it felt like she rejected me. I just realized this the other day. And so I used to have these dreams every single night. And then I went through my dad dying, and I think part of me blamed her. Completely wrongly. But a part of me blamed her and hated her. Even though my mum's the most wonderful woman in the world, really. Not perfect, but. And so every single night I would dream about this. I would be in a random taxi getting an autograph from like Wanderlei Silva, the UFC fighter, MMA fighter. And then she would come in, she'd always interrupt. Like I'd be having these great moments and she would come in and interrupt. It'd be her and my sister. And I'd fucking scream at them in the dreams. Mom, get the fuck away from me. Like that. It wasn't until I really was able to embrace that and to love that part of myself, that darkness, that hate, that like rage, it didn't go away until I fully loved it, fully allowed it. So that's one dark night of the soul. The other is, I think, when we come a little bit kind of what you were speaking about earlier, this sort of existential dread where all of the ego identity structures that you've been clinging to so fervently, almost as if you were clinging onto a rock in the river, right? And you're like white knuckle holding on. When we start to let go of that, that can be really, really scary because we're now going with the flow of life. So when we let go of these ego structures, we sort of freak out. And we're like, whoa, who am I? Like I was, at least in the familiar misery, I sort of knew everything. So it's this sort of great humbling of our mind and spirit where like, I don't know shit. I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. And that's where trust and surrender and humility and grace are so, so necessary. Because if we resist it, then we're going to fall back into these lower states of ego identification. That's a dark night of the soul when we come face to face with the fact we don't know. There's that famous experiment, right, where people would sit in a room with nothing in there for 20 minutes and they got this electric buzzer. And after about 5 minutes, everyone's like, because they would prefer that stimulation over just being with themselves. And I think this is why we have this smartphone epidemic, because the moment we sit down for sort of 10 minutes with ourselves, we just realize how little we know. And that's really terrifying to the ego, who one of its main mechanisms for feeling safe is control. It's really scary to let go sometimes. So yeah, I'm curious, does that sort of tally up with your experiences or with your explorations or understandings?
Yeah, I think so. I wanted to ask a follow-up on that. Of how do you balance like being an entrepreneur and a businessman and a father and a husband and having an apartment and paying rent and like all these things, which inherently feel like controlling activities, right? To some degree, you probably have to maintain some control to keep the structure. So how do you navigate that being true while also knowing like liberation is completely being free and completely letting go?
Well, first of all, there are things we can control: what we focus on, what we do, and how we feel. So I focus on that, and then the other stuff I don't even think about for the most part. What do I do? No, okay, let me be completely transparent. There are times where I think about that, and I think about particularly like, how do I, do all of these things, and as soon as that happens, I recognize that it doesn't help anything. So in those moments, I go back to this highest guiding principle, which is God and unconditional love, and I let go and I surrender. And any time that I've tried to hold on, there's this immediate felt sense of cutting yourself off from something sacred and abundance. Anytime I surrender and let go, and then also get intentional with attention and intention and clearly stating what it is I desire, knowing what I desire, abundance flows with ease. So I don't think about an apartment or being a dad or being an entrepreneur. I don't really consider any of that. I just try and sit in love and in surrender and just let it happen. And that's trust, that's real trust. It takes courage. And I'm not saying I do that all the time, just for transparency, but most of the time. And yeah, I don't have big lofty goals as an entrepreneur. I just want to help guys who are ready. Guys like yourself who came to me or come to me and say, hey, what you're saying resonates, and I'm ready to do this work. I'm ready to find a new level of freedom. And I don't need lots of money. I really don't. I'm not interested in it. I'm interested in love and God and being, well, really just being. And I trust that everything else will take care of itself. So, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it feels really true. It feels true. And it's a rare entrepreneur who would ever make this statement. I don't really care about money. Actually, some entrepreneurs do. It's interesting. Because, okay, you say the same thing as Steve Jobs says, right? He said, I don't give a shit about money. He's like, I cared about the product. Same thing for you, right? But it's like, it's a different manifestation of the product. The product for you is a shared space of love. And the product for him is this thing. but they both have to exist, right? Because this computer allows us to talk and allows your business of love to even be possible. So isn't that it's so fascinating how everything is perfectly orchestrated.
It is. And look, I think when you're Steve Jobs and you got, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars, it's kind of easy not to worry about money. I'm not Steve Jobs.
The thing is with him, what I really respect about him is like, I don't think he ever cared actually about money. Now, maybe about influence and about beating his competitors and being the best, sure. But maybe this is an insight that's coming through. Like, he had the capacity to build Apple because fundamentally he did not give a fuck about money, because he was like, all right, we're in my parents' garage. Cool. I'm going to backpack India for 9 months with no money. That probably unlocked a level of freedom in him to not need it and say, well, as long as I'm more interested in creating something that changes the world. I love that mindset. That's a beautiful mindset.
Yeah, I think it's incredibly powerful. And it's just also, I just think it's efficient, because you can spend all day worrying about anything. But where does that get you other than misery, other than tension, other than contraction? And ultimately, I'm just not willing to make myself suffer, because I did that for a long time. I suffered immensely at my own hands. All suffering is self-created. All stress is self-created. And so I think that there comes a point in our journeys where we say, I'm not willing to hold on to that anymore.
Yeah. And something I've noticed too is like the state of worry where decisions come from. So say you're like in a state of worry, you're like, fuck, I gotta figure this out. You make a decision from that state of worry, more worry manifests.
Yeah, of course.
But if the decision is made from fuck it, like it's all gonna be good. Fuck it, what if I just shoot this shot? I trust it's gonna work out. It usually works out. This is what I've been learning about manifestation recently, is like manifestation, the future manifesting is 100% solely dependent on the feeling in the moment now.
Yes. The feeling is a secret, as you mentioned, right?
Yeah. It's so simple, right?
It is. It's remarkably simple. And the subconscious mind, which is connected to the infinite source, thinks in terms of imagery and feeling. Very little actual thinking required, but a feeling and like a visualization. Because time is a construct. It's a human construct. Okay, the sun comes up and goes down, but time is a human construct. There is just this. Kind of going back to what we're saying, it's no divine moments, but there is the divine moment. And then it's just, are you in that or not? Or are you in self-obsession? And in this divine moment, all potentialities already exist.
Mm-hmm. That's exciting.
Decide what you want.
That's exciting.
And allow it. Yeah, no, it is, right? It is. And it's
so exciting.
Yeah. I'm curious where Jack Moses takes his entrepreneurial journey after. How many years are you in college now, Jack? Like
this is my last year. I'm going to be graduating in December.
Oh wow, cool. That's pretty exciting. Mm.
Yeah.
Are you like getting good grades and stuff? I'm kind of curious, like because you've got all this stuff going on.
It's a funny question. Yeah. Okay. Answer: yes. I'm like gonna go way deeper, but okay. Yes. Yes, I'm getting good grades. I'm getting very good at AI. I've met some incredible friends in my classes, like angels, really. Who just, it's not like they're giving me the answers, but it's like, hey, I made this study guide. Like, do you want it? And that happens because I'm more concerned with, during class, I feel I'm concerned with two things, maybe sometimes three. And the third maybe is like sometimes I'm listening to the professor, because most of the time it's not interesting. It's just like, it's just rambling to go where. I feel a lot of times like we're just moving information around to go where. Like, what's the point? I don't know. But I'm usually working on my own stuff in the corner. And I love when these moments happen in class, when we can actually talk and connect and there's just not a lecture. That's beautiful. And I've met this girl who's like this angel. She's like super cool. Really good friend. So like, she's one example of like, she'll be like, hey, I made flashcards. I'm like, thank you. And so I'll look at the flashcards 10 minutes before the test and then go take the test and like ask my intuition, subconscious, higher mind, like what's the answer to on the tests. I have not cracked that one out 100% yet of like, can I completely take a test through intuition? But it's improving. There's a story from Autobiography of a Yogi from Yogananda, and like basically he was in a similar situation, and I just coincidentally read the same chapter at the same time I was coming back to school, and he like didn't go to any classes. He just didn't show up, but he was so connected to God that he had so much faith it was going to work out. And it was like, oh, the night before the test, and this happened to Michael Singer too in Surrender Experiment. Like the night before the test, his friend told him the 4 questions to study from the study guide that were the 4 questions on the test. Or Michael Singer has a similar example of like, out of any topic he could have studied in the entire economics textbook, he was guided to study the one topic that was the essay question. So I'm getting a sneeze response, which is like, oh, there's truth there. That's what I've noticed. That's going to be interesting for me to keep diving deeper into, I think. Like, how much can I be surrendered and trust? But right now it's going well, to sum it up.
Yeah, very good. And if you find a girl who makes flashcards, that's a keeper right there. She's making flashcards, that's a keeper. That's a relation.
He might be watching this podcast, which is quite funny.
Oh, right. Okay, brilliant. Well,
Anna, you're a legend. Anna's a legend. She's so cool.
It's funny because it reminds me what you were saying there about Michael Singer and Yogananda. Reminds me a lot of my own experience in college, because when I went to college, I'm just going to turn my cooler on. When I went to college, I didn't go to any classes. I went to just the
really,
ones. Yeah. But it was so funny because I was doing education, learning and development, so lots of sort of like educational psychology type stuff. And okay, there we go. I didn't realize my cooler was, and I was like, damn, it's warm in it. And I remember, like, all the women in my course, we had this real sort of like love-hate relationship, because whenever I turned up, I think I made the class a lot more entertaining, because I'd start challenging people's opinions and I'd start putting big opinions out there, and I kind of like trolling a little bit, because they were so. And just for context, I'd really come to a point of like surrender at this point, where I was just like playing in life, and they were, it would ruffle some feathers, but it would get all this energy flowing and all this discussion going. I had like 40 women against me pretty much, and I loved it. I was like, come on, let's have a debate. I'm going to break down the way that you see things. Let's go. And but I never showed up. And then when I would show up, they'd sort of be like, oh, you never turn up. And they'd sort of be like tutting at me, but like you could tell they were happy I was there. And it was hilarious, man. So funny. And especially when I never showed up, and then I got a much better grade than them on one essay. And they were all like in a real sting with me, and I fucking loved it. Because I could tell they loved it. Yeah, so funny, man. Good times. The time where I felt the most severe anxiety in my life was in college, in my third year. And in England, in the third year of university, it's worth 75% of your grade. So it all hinges on the final year, pretty much. Wow. I actually wrote my thesis about how meditation and mindfulness improve academic attainment through reducing stress and anxiety. So a bit of a full circle moment.
Dude, I'm writing a similar paper in my psychology class.
Oh,
how breath work and meditation can reduce anxiety and improve athletic performance.
There you go.
That's so cool, dude. That's so fucking cool.
Yeah, awesome. And I'm sure that'll be a banging paper. Are you using AI for it?
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Now, when I write it, maybe, but like the assignments leading up to it of like find 5 sources and give me reasons why they're good. Okay, I can actually do that and probably take 2 hours, or I can use my great buddy ChatGPT and do it in 5 minutes and then create my passions for the next 2 hours. Like this podcast. AI is making this podcast possible. If I was actually doing everything in school, I don't think I would have space.
Thank you, the AI gods.
Yeah.
No, it's beautiful, man. No, it's so interesting to hear about your experiences in college, because again, like, it's such a dynamic position for you to be in, where you are like in the entrepreneurship world, content creation, and then also in college itself. It's remarkable. So yeah, I mean, just go back to our story. Like, the most anxiety I've ever felt, I had to do a presentation in front of like 20 teachers and 20 students, I think, something like that. And I thought it was Thursday, so it's Wednesday morning. I've just finished it all off. I've got it all sorted. I'm like, right, I'm gonna smoke a fat doobie, because that's what I was into in college. I'd never even drunk coffee before I went to college, and so I was opening up to all these new realms, doing like 4 hours of meditation a day, and smoking a joint. And I remember smoking this joint, and I was really high. I was listening to some Bob Marley, and I was like, I wanna love you, da, da, and I was vibing with the pigeons outside the window.
You're the most unique British guy I think I've ever met in my life.
You'll meet some, and there's plenty of unique ones. And then I remember I got this message on Facebook, and it was my buddy. It was like one of the only other blokes in the course, and he was like, Leigh, where the hell are you? I said, what do you mean? I said, I'm tomorrow. And he goes, no, you're today. You're now. And I lived about 40 minutes away. And I was like, oh, shit. So I got in the shower, ice cold, trying to like purge myself. My eyes were like burning red. I was high as hell. Got into a taxi, burned over to the university, still high as hell. And I had to go and do this presentation. My heart was beating so severely in that taxi, dude. And then eventually got there and gave the presentation. Went really well, got a top grade for it. But that's one of those moments where we can either rise to meet these anxieties, these fears, these sensations, these emotions, or we fall and we shy away, we cower, we make excuses, we avoid. And that, to me, was like a real test. It was great fun, actually, in the end. I remember walking out and there thinking, woo, we made it.
That sounds incredible. How did you rise to meet it, and how can one rise to meet it?
I think when the world or the feelings feel overwhelming and you're like, whoa, you just have to smile at it and be like, wag your finger at it and just know that fundamentally you are safe and just rise. Literally, like spiritually rise.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, it is what it is. I got this.
Were you aware enough at 20, 22 to do that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah. I was
Wow.
deep into the work at that point already, yeah. So, yeah, much like yourself. But yeah, I mean, it's good stuff. But brother, should we bring it down here?
One more question.
Sure.
About the other one that I had written down.
Okay. The only reason I suggest that just because I can see I know it's getting late for you. I don't want to ruin.
Oh, dude, I'm chilling. It's all good. I'm all good. This is so fun. This is energizing to me, right? This doesn't feel like work. This is play. This is pure creativity. It's pure flow. It's really fun. I'm going to be doing more of these for sure. I was like, I am kind of isolated here in Illinois, right? I don't have a lot of friends to talk about this stuff with in person. I have my football teammates, which is fucking great. Like we go lift weights for 2 hours and we're just like listening to rap music and lifting weights. It's fun to be in that energy.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I'm with myself. So I'm like, okay, the podcast is such a beautiful way for me to have intellectually energizing conversations with people who see the world in a similar way.
Yeah.
And now there's a handful of people sprinkled around me that I'm beginning to find more and more. But this is a blessing. Another thing that's becoming more fun is like, I'm going to get a little bit better setup. I have a microphone there. We'll see if I do it in here. Might do it out in my living room. It's much more spacious, but I got this like gold plated yin yang koi fish wall hanging thing. So I want to put that up and like make a nice setup. And, maybe I'll put this up there too. I got this, this picture of Archangel Michael, which is like very beautiful. And so I'm like, okay, I can make this a nice aesthetic setup, do more podcasts, talk to more friends. I know thumbnail design now. So it's like both the expression of it to the world, the creative process is more fun because I'm tapping into my creativity, but also the connection with a great friend.
It's a connection, yeah. You're a dear friend, brother, as well. I just want to state that. And yeah, we'll be friends for life, brother.
Most definitely.
I'm definitely coming to Austin at some point because I've got so many clients and so many friends out there who I want to come and visit and see. And a vision that I have is bringing all of those different guys together. I mean, you've met Cole already. Obviously, Nick and a number of other guys, but I'd love to just bring everybody together and just like something simple, just sit around a campfire and just fucking chat. You know what I mean? Like that's what we don't have enough of in this world, is just spaces where we can just be in each other's presence, be in each other's company, and just, not in some stuffy boardroom, but out in nature or something. I don't know if you got Bigfoot down in Austin, but try and find that motherfucker as well.
Maybe, who knows?
Maybe he visits us if we're camping out in the woods or something. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean, maybe there's going to be potential realities where we're doing these meetups. I see it. I mean, something was coming through for me a few weeks ago about like hosting something in Thailand, like a retreat or a festival out there. So these things are inevitable. It's just a matter of time.
Quite, yes, exactly. Yeah,
if you'd want to come to Thailand, Malaysia for a retreat with me and Leigh, send us a message. And then if it's supposed to manifest, maybe it'll manifest.
Let's go. See
That'd
where
be
it goes.
freaking
Yeah.
cool. That'd be super cool.
Yeah, if you do something out in Thailand, I'd love to pop over
Yeah, I'll let you know.
and support as best I can. Yeah.
How do you feel about one more question, one more topic?
Yeah, please, let's go in. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about the jhanas. What are the
Jhanas.
jhanas?
The jhanas, simply put, are states of meditative absorption where one enters into a energized state of harmony known as rapture, not of the flesh. Which means that the best orgasm you've ever had, the best food you've ever eaten doesn't compare. All of these pleasures of the flesh don't compare to the rapture, the joy, the peace of mind, which are the jhanas. And okay, here's a really interesting thing. The way that you get into jhana is you're meditating. I'll just make sure this is in the right place. Your mind wanders, right? You relax, you bring it back. Over time, you spend more and more time actually focused on your object of meditation instead of off in fantasy world. And so this is a skill that you learn, and your concentration gets really good and you learn to develop it. And now when you're just here and your concentration becomes one-pointed, you start to enter into this. In my experience, the way it happens is you get these waves of pleasure, bliss. So it all goes like, and you're going to want to grasp at them. You're going to want to claim them and say, oh, I'm having a spiritual experience. I'm having a jhana experience. And that will make them die down. Because the jhanas are just these states of bliss that come about when there is no or a lack of craving in the mind. Craving is this push and pull, this grasping and pushing away of the mind that creates suffering. And so this bliss wave is coming, and if you can just completely just observe it in a non-attached manner, then it boils over, so it goes into what is very obviously an altered state of consciousness. And the first jhana is, in my experience, eruptively blissful. It can be so blissful, actually, it can be painful at times, even agonizing, because it's like there's so much energy in the mind-body system, in the nervous system. And then if you could just kind of ride that wave out, it's not always like that, but it depends. There's different depths of jhana. And then if you just continue riding that wave, it kind of, you let go of this sustained and applied attention, it sort of just boils down into this lovely sort of super cool, soft, quiet spaciousness, which is the second jhana. Almost like, the way I always imagine it is like a bamboo pool, a pool in a bamboo forest in the mountain of Japan, and you sort of just go into it after a hot, muggy day. It's just so refreshing and nourishing. It's healing. And then as you continue to kind of let go of craving of the mind, you go into these more and more subtle states of mind. And I remember I came back from holding my daughter for the first time, and there's no craving in a baby. In a new baby, there's no craving. It's absolutely pure. And I just went back and I was holding her for like 2 hours. And I just went back home and I just copied her state of mind. And just entered into this incredibly subtle. I mean, the jhanas conclude with the mind of consciousness kind of turning off. As you get, the mind becomes more and more subtle, more and more subtle. And then eventually you come to the edge of the mind and it just kind of switches off. And yeah, I'm more experienced with the first 4 jhanas than I am with the immaterial jhanas, because I didn't have much desire to explore them. Yeah, that's the essence of it.
Interesting. Let's end it on a high note. Let's end it on joy. What do you want to attract or manifest into your life, if anything at all?
Well, I guess it's not so much what I want to attract or manifest, but that would be an after effect of this. Very simply, I want to be the most loving, passionate, authentic version of who I am. And I just want to be And yeah, in my experience, when we are in this state of pure beingness, not only is it a wonderful place to reside, but yeah, everything takes care of itself. So perhaps instead of saying what I'd like to manifest, I'd like to end it with a prayer of gratitude.
I love that.
For everything that is already here. So thank you, Lord, for this wonderful podcast. And thank you for this beautiful friendship with my guy, Jack Moses, who is a beautiful young man and a wonderful teacher and learner and mentor and creator. Thank you for this beautiful life. Thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for this eternal, beautiful moment and all the abundance that it contains. Thank you for all the blessings in our lives. And thank you for anybody who's listening to this. And may you find your own peace. May you find your own joy. May you find your own storehouse of infinite love and peacefulness and wholeness. And that, beyond anything else, is the greatest gift that you can give to the world. It's the recognition of your own wholeness. And thank you, God, for this opportunity to take part in this earth walk and to learn the lessons that we learn. And thank you for this moment. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for that. And thank you so much for being here and taking so much time out of your day to have this chat. And thank you for your friendship. It's beautiful. I'm really grateful for you, dude.
Likewise, brother. You're an awesome dude. And it's an honor for me to call you a friend and an ally and a brother on the path.
Absolute blessing. Many more years ahead, many more podcasts ahead. I'm so excited. I'm so excited to see you again soon too.
Yes. Thank you so much, brother.